She begged me not to leave after I learned our son was named after her ex. Hi, I'm Nathan, 35, and my marriage exploded because my wife named our son after her ex-boyfriend and didn't tell me. 6 days. That's how long it took for the truth to burn down everything we built. I'll never forget the moment. I was on my phone, rocking our newborn sleep-deprived, half alive, scrolling through Instagram just to keep my brain from short-circuiting. That's when I saw the post. A throwback photo from one of Emily's college friends, Tyler. Group shot. Drunken smiles. Emily tag. And right next to her is Hayes. The name punched me in the gut. Lucas. The name my wife just thought of in the hospital. The name I agreed to because she said it fit our son. Lucas Martin. Not on our list. Not even mentioned until the day the hospital needed a name to print the damn birth certificate. Lucas Martin Hayes. Her ex. Her friend who still texted her happy birthday every year with way too many hearts. The guy whose selfies she kept liking. Whose gym progress she commented on. The guy she still had conversations with about what could have been. That Lucas. My hands started sweating. My heart pounding like I'd just been caught doing something wrong, but I hadn't. She had. I clicked deeper, found more photos. More tags. Then her messages. Because. Yeah. We didn't keep passwords. No secrets, right? Wrong. The texts were a knife to the gut. Not cheating at least. Not physically, but emotional intimacy, nostalgia, flirtation. All of it wrapped up in a name she gave our son without telling me why it mattered. I confronted her. Right there, 6 days after our son was born. She said it wasn't about him. That it was about that time in her life. That Lucas was just a name she'd always liked. That I agreed to it. That it's just a name, but it was T.it was a betrayal with vowels and consonants. A lie dressed up as sentimentality. She didn't ask me. She didn't give me a choice. She chose him again. Quietly, selfishly, cowardly. So I chose something too, to walk away. The next morning, I filed for divorce. I dropped the papers on our kitchen counter like they were a bomb, and in a way, they were. Emily stood there, barefoot, hair still damp from the shower, clutching a mug that said, "Best mom ever." The irony almost made me laugh. "What is this?" She whispered. "Divorce. Paternity acknowledgement. Withdrawal. DNA test authorization." I kept my voice calm, like I'd rehearsed it in my head 100 times. Because I had. "You're withdrawing paternity? You're saying you're not his father?" "I'm saying I didn't agree to raise a child named after your ex-boyfriend." Her face twisted like she'd been slapped. "He's your son. You love him." "I do. But I don't trust you. And I sure as hell don't trust whatever feelings you're still holding onto for him." She kept shaking her head, voice cracking. "You said yes to the name. You signed the birth certificate. Because I thought it was just a name you liked. You never told me it belonged to the guy you used to sleep with. That's not a name. That's a memorial." Emily fell apart right there sobbing, sliding down the cabinets to the floor. I watched, cold and distant, arms crossed. I should have felt something. Pity, regret, something. But all I felt was tired. "I'll change it," she gasped. "Please, just don't leave." "I'll change the name." I didn't say anything. I didn't trust her yet. Not her promises. Not her tears. Not the way she tried to rewrite the past in real time. She had chosen Lucas, carefully, secretly, and then pretended it was innocent. That night, I drove our son to my parents' house. Emily stayed behind, alone. At midnight, I posted the truth online. The story, the texts, the name. I left out details that didn't matter, and kept in the ones that did. Emily called 6 times before it didn't answer. By morning, it had gone viral. Friends, family, co-workers, everyone knew. Some called me cruel, others called me brave. But I didn't care about opinions. I cared about accountability. Emily's mom called crying. Her dad called fuming. They begged me to stop, to protect the family name. I told them Emily should have thought of that before she dishonored mine. By day 2, she broke. She called. Said she'd do it, really do it. Changed the name. Cut off contact with Lucas Hayes. She finally realized this wasn't about revenge. It was about respect. 3 days later, we stood side by side in the county records office like strangers playing house. The same woman who'd once walked down an aisle in a white dress was now standing next to me with puffy eyes and trembling hands, filling out paperwork to erase a name she had once fought to keep. She didn't cry this time. She didn't argue. She just wrote, James Robert Anderson. Not Lucas. Not Martin. James, my grandfather's name. Robert hers. A name born from compromise. Not betrayal. The clerk processed the form, stamped it, and handed us the receipt like it was just another errand. Just a change of ink on a line. But to me, it felt like something sacred had been salvaged from a fire. Afterward, Emily turned to me in the parking lot. He's really James now, she said quietly. It's done. No, I said. It started. I made her show me everything. Screenshots of Lucas Hayes blocked on every app, every platform. Texts deleted. Email chains gone. Instagram unfollowed. She even changed her number. Cold. Clinical. Exactly what I needed to see. I didn't say thank you. I wasn't grateful. I was watching someone clean up the mess they'd made in a house I used to call a home. Back at Patricia Moss's office, I withdrew the divorce petition and reinstated paternity. Patricia asked if I was sure. I'm sure, I said, though I wasn't. Not really. I just knew the alternative was worse, raising my son from a distance over something that could be fixed. Emily wanted me to come home that night. I didn't. I waited 3 more days. I needed to see if she meant it. If she'd slip. If Lucas Hayes would suddenly reappear like a bad penny in her inbox. He did end single quotes T.so I went back. Emily greeted me like she was afraid I might vanish. Like one wrong move, and I'd dissolve again. And maybe I would have. But that night, she curled up next to me in bed, laid her hand on my chest, and whispered, "Thank you for coming back." I didn't respond. My son, James, was asleep in the next room. And for the first time since his birth, I felt like he really was ours. But it wasn't over. The war had gone quiet. But the wounds weren't healed. Trust, once cracked, doesn't fix with signatures and name changes. It lingers, like the ghost of Lucas Hayes, still hiding in the corners of our story. The first few days back in the house felt like squatting in someone else's life. Familiar walls, same furniture, same creaky spot in the upstairs hallway, but everything felt off. Like our marriage had been burned down, and we were trying to live in the ashes without getting soot on the baby. Emily walked on eggshells. Every word she said was triple-checked before it left her mouth. Every look, every gesture, careful. She apologized constantly, for things she hadn't even done that day, for forgetting to take the trash out, for burning toast, for breathing too loud during one of James's naps. She was trying. I'll give her that. But when someone breaks your trust in a way so specific and targeted, it doesn't matter how hard they try afterward. The damage wasn't just about the name. It was about what the name meant. The long, private conversation she'd kept alive behind my back. The memory she wanted to immortalize. In our son, James. Now every time I said it, it landed differently. Clean. Ours. But I'd be lying if I said I didn't flinch every time someone asked, was he always named James? Or did you name him after anyone? Because the real answer was yes, but not at first. First. He was named after the man my wife wished she hadn't let go. We started couples counseling on a Thursday morning in a small beige office above a nail salon. Dr. Arnold, mid-40s, quiet, wore sweaters that looked like they came from the clearance rack at REI. He didn't judge. He didn't react. He just asked things. Like, do you think Emily chose the name as a way to stay connected to her past? Yes, obviously. Do you think Nathan is punishing you as much as he's protecting himself? Emily nodded without crying. That was new. The sessions were brutally honest. She admitted the emotional affair. She said she didn't realize how far she drifted until it was too late. That she'd buried that version of herself, Lucas's Emily, but when she got pregnant, part of her wanted to feel like that girl again. Free, uncomplicated, alive. So you named our son after a fantasy set in one session. I didn't know I was doing it, she whispered. But yeah, maybe. That was the worst part. Not that she made the choice, but that she didn't even realize how deep it ran until it was on the birth certificate. Dr. Arnold said, subconscious betrayal is still betrayal. Emily cried. I didn't. I sat there like a statue with the storm under my skin. Outside the sessions, things were functional. We co-parented. Well, James started sleeping through the night. We took turns with feedings. We smiled in front of our parents, but at night, when the house went quiet, I'd catch myself lying awake, wondering was this just the beginning of another cycle? If she could name our son after someone she used to love, what else was she capable of hiding? One night, I finally asked her, if I hadn't found out about the name, would you have ever told me? She hesitated. Too long, oh, she admitted, honest. But it didn't make me feel better, and if I hadn't threatened to walk, would you have changed it? Another pause. Then, quietly, probably not. There it was. Truth, in all its sharp, ugly glory. I just didn't want to lose you, she said. So I did what I had to do. I believed her. And I hated that I did, because it meant she was capable of choosing me when she wanted to. She just hadn't wanted to until the fire was already burning the floor out from under us. That's what trust looks like after betrayal. Not forgiveness. Not peace. Just surveillance with love. James was 6 months old when Emily's college reunion invitation showed up in the mail. A glossy postcard with a smiling mascot on the front and too many exclamation points. She set it on the kitchen counter like it was radioactive. You going? I asked. She didn't answer right away. Just kept stirring her tea, slowly, like she was calculating every possible answer. I wasn't planning on it, she said eventually. But you usually go to stuff like that. Yeah, but I figured it might be. Weird now. Weird. Right. She meant Lucas might be Neither of us said his name out loud anymore. Like Voldemort. The man who should never have been on our son's birth certificate. I sipped my coffee, watching her. You want to go? I'm not going. You sure? I'm sure. That should have ended it, but it didn't. Because something about her face bothered me. Tight smile, twitchy eyes. That subtle tension I'd learned to read too well over the last few months. Like when she lies by omission. Like when she's about to say one thing and do another. So I waited, watched, and sure enough, that Saturday night, same night as the reunion, I checked her location sharing. Not because I wanted to be that guy, but because I'd become that guy the day she chose another man's name for our son. Location, hotel on 8th Street. Same one. The college booked blocks of rooms for the reunion. I sat in the dark nursery holding James, watching the blue dot blink on my phone like a silent alarm. My hands were shaking, not from anger, not even from fear, but from that creeping confirmation that she'd lied again. When she got home the next morning, I didn't say anything. I just waited until we were alone. How was Target? I asked, voice flat. She blinked. What? You said you were going to Target last night. I checked the app. You were at the reunion hotel. Her mouth opened, closed. Fish out of water. Caught. I just stopped by. Just to say hi to some people. Was he there? I don't know. You don't know? I didn't see him, okay? I don't know if he was there or not. I wasn't looking for him, but you went. I didn't go for him, but you lied to me. She looked like she was going to cry again. And for once, I didn't care. You went to a place where he might be, I said, keeping my voice low so I wouldn't wake James. You told me you wouldn't. You told me you'd cut contact. I have cut contact. But you're still looking for him, not? She stopped herself. I wanted to feel like myself for a minute. To see old friends. To remember who I used to be. There it is, I said. You miss her. The girl you were with him. You miss that version of you. That's not what you miss how it felt. Being with someone exciting. Someone you couldn't have. Someone who didn't ask you to grow up. That's not fair. No, what's not fair is me sitting here wondering if I'm enough. Wondering if you'd still be here if he texted you right now and said, let's try again. She covered her face, shaking. I don't want him. You wanted the idea of him. Enough to name our son after it. I've changed the name. I've done everything you asked. But not because you believed in it. You did it because you were scared of losing me. That's not the same as being honest. Silence. Then finally, the only words I wasn't expecting. I think I need therapy. She said it without fanfare. No dramatics. Just a broken kind of honesty. I thought we were in therapy, I said. I mean me. Alone. Not couples counseling. I need to figure out why I keep reaching backwards instead of forwards. Why I can't seem to let go of people who don't exist anymore. For the first time in months, I didn't have anything to say, because she was right. She needed to do her own work, and maybe I did too. Emily started solo therapy the following week. She didn't ask for my input, didn't tell me what she was going to talk about. She just gave me the time, the address, and quietly added, "I'll be back by dinner." Good. That's what I wanted, accountability without being asked for applause. Meanwhile, I was learning how to be a dad again. Not the kind of dad who's distracted by betrayal, or second-guessing the name on every diaper. Just a dad. Changing James, feeding him, rocking him while he teethed on a frozen giraffe like it owed him money. He started babbling more, pulling up on furniture, laughing every time I made a stupid face, and for a while, I forgot to be angry. Not because it was gone, but because I was tired. Because resentment doesn't help you at a M when your kid's fever hits 102, and you're Googling symptoms with one hand while rubbing his back with the other. Parenting has a way of forcing you into the present, even when your past keeps tugging at your sleeve. Emily never mentioned the reunion again. Not once. But her behavior changed. She got quieter, not withdrawn, just more careful. And not in a fearful way, more like she'd finally realized she needed to listen. Really? Listen. One night, after putting James down, she sat on the couch next to me and said, "My therapist says I've always romanticized men who kept me emotionally at arm's length." I raised an eyebrow. "Like Lucas?" She nodded. "And even you." "At first. Me? You were the stable one. The fix." I convinced myself that if I married someone who didn't make my stomach flip, I'd be safe. "Glad I was such a thrilling choice," I muttered. She laughed, genuine for once. I thought that was a good thing. But what I didn't realize was that I'd start chasing the feeling again. Not the man. The uncertainty. The danger. That stupid high you get from someone who might leave. I didn't know what to say to that. Part of me wanted to be insulted. Another part just felt exhausted. "I'm not asking for forgiveness," she said. "I'm just asking for time." Time for what? To earn your trust back. For real this time. I looked at her, really looked at her for the first time in a while. She wasn't trying to win me over. She wasn't groveling. She was just present. I nodded. "Okay." Not a promise. Not a clean slate. Just, okay. James turned 1 in March. We did cupcakes in the backyard, just family, big party. My parents brought balloons. Her parents brought guilt. Still not entirely over the way things went down. Emily's dad pulled me aside at one point and said, "I just want you to know. She's trying." "I've never seen her try like this." I nodded. Didn't smile. I wasn't interested in a redemption arc. I was interested in results. Later, as James mashed frosting into his hair and laughed like a maniac, Emily leaned over and whispered, "You okay?" "Yeah," I said. And for once, it wasn't a lie, because things were better. Not perfect. Not healed. But better. Emily hadn't said Lucas's name in months. Her therapy became a regular thing Wednesday evenings. No excuses. She didn't overshare about it, and I didn't ask. That was our new rule. Talk about what's real, not what's performative. No more speeches. No more gestures. Just work. And the truth? We were doing the work. She stopped posting on Instagram altogether. Took a break from everything that used to make her compare our life to someone else's. She started journaling. Stopped checking her phone after PM. She even started saying no to things: girls' weekends, wine nights, anything that had once been a breeding ground for temptation. We got quieter as a couple. Not in a bad way. In a settled way. Like two people learning how to live with the scar between them. Not pretending it wasn't there, but also not picking at it every day. One night, while folding laundry, she looked up at me and said, "You know what I regret most?" I looked over. "What?" "That I took something as sacred as naming a child, and made it about me." I didn't say anything. She kept folding James's little shirts. "It wasn't fair. I was selfish. I wasn't malicious, but I was selfish. And I'm sorry." It landed differently than all the other apologies. It wasn't about begging or fixing. It was just a woman owning a choice that detonated her life and mine. I sat down beside her, picked up one of James's socks. "You know what I regret?" She looked at me. "That I let myself think walking away was the only way to make you see it. Wasn't it?" She asked. I thought about it. "Maybe," I said. But it scared the hell out of me how easy it was to shut down. How fast I went cold. She nodded. We both disappeared in different ways. And there it was. The closest we'd come to real intimacy in a year. No yelling. No crying. Just the quiet, brutal truth of two people who almost lost everything over something that started with a name. James said his first real word 2 weeks after that night. Just like that. Out of nowhere, standing at the edge of the coffee table, gripping it with those pudgy hands and looking right at me. Emily was in the kitchen. She heard it and came running, her face lighting up. "You heard that, right?" I said, grinning like an idiot. She nodded, eyes wide. "Yeah, I did." James babbled something else after that. Me nonsense. Maybe genius. It didn't matter. Because that first word felt like a reset. Like something cracked open that had been stuck since the day his name hit that birth certificate. Not Lucas. Not a mistake. Just me. It didn't fix everything, but it fixed enough. That night, Emily brought out a photo album she'd been making. It was all James's first bath, his first smile, that time he projectile vomited on my mom. Normal stuff. Happy stuff. But the first page was blank. "I saved this one," she said, for the story of how we chose his name. Stared at the empty page for a long time. Then finally said, "We'll write it together. Because that's what rebuilding looks like. Not erasing what happened. Not pretending it was all okay. But deciding what story we want to tell moving forward. Together." We never talked about Lucas Hayes again. Not because it was forbidden, but because it didn't matter anymore. He became a closed chapter, a shadow that used to stretch across our home, but now belonged to someone else's life. Emily and I aren't perfect. We still argue about stupid things: laundry, bills, why James keeps hiding the TV remote in the trash can. But now, when we fight, we do it honestly. No secrets, no walls. Trust, when broken, doesn't come back the same. But sometimes, if you both fight for it, it grows back stronger. Messier maybe, but real. Sometimes I still wonder what would have happened if I hadn't found that Instagram photo. If I'd never known the truth. If I'd lived the rest of my life calling my son by a name that meant something entirely different to my wife. But I did find it. And I did take a stand. And because of that, I don't just have a son named James Robert Anderson. I have a marriage that survived fire. A story that started with betrayal and ended with something like redemption. And every time James calls me, I remember exactly why I walked through hell and back. To be his father. On my terms. With the name he deserved.